Get free tech advice for your business from O2 Gurus. Search O2 Business for more. Hey guys, welcome to BTech. It's Basil here, and this is an HTC Desire 820. This is an HTC Desire EYE, and you're watching our comparison. You guys asked for an in-depth comparison in our live show on Friday, so a couple of days later, here we are. What can we tell you about these two phones? Well, they're Desires, so they're instantly mid-rangers, but they're high mid-rangers. You can tell that because you've got pretty much an M8 flagship spec inside this thing in its plastic body. As for the HTC Desire 820, this has 64-bit chipset in it. It's octa-core and it has some very speedy LTE on board too. But like we said, this is a comparison, so let's kick off by telling you a bit about the prices of the two, and that should really put things into perspective. The HTC Desire 820 comes in at around £250 to £300 if you shop around. As for the Desire EYE, £350 to £400, so instantly about £100 difference there. As for the design, both of these phones are similar size, i.e. over 5 inches, and you can see the fascia of the HTC Desire 820 is larger, but the Desire 820 is the slimmer phone of the two. Thanks to the fact that the HTC Desire EYE is water and dust resistant, it probably has something to do with the fact it's a thicker beast. 8.5mm thick by contrast to 7.7mm. They're about the same weight, 154 grams versus 155 grams, so there's really nothing in that at all. So really, if you do want a bigger screen, then you may want to just opt for the HTC Desire 820 off the bat. But hold up, you've got to remember resolution. The resolution or the sharpness of the displays are very different too. You have a 720p display on here. What that means is it's spread out across a larger surface area, which means that the HTC Desire EYE with its full HD display has a much sharper screen. It's 424 pixels per inch, and that is versus 267 pixels per inch on the Desire 820. The designs are also relatively different. High gloss versus nice matte. The HTC Desire EYE feels a richer device altogether. You can see you've got volume rocker on the right hand side, as well as a power button, 2-stage camera button, which is a nice touch. These buttons are very flush along the side, so that's not something that we love, but the addition of a 2-stage camera button is welcome, and you can also set it to launch that 13 megapixel front-facing camera. Down at the base, you've got that micro USB connector. Left hand side, no buttons, but you do have a micro SD card slot and a nano SIM slot. Up at the top is a 3.5mm headphone jack, and on the flip side, you have that rear-facing 13 megapixel camera and another dual flash. It's all in all a really attractive device. It's nice and big in terms of height to accommodate for a couple of things that we're really excited to see, and one is that front-facing camera, but the other thing is stereo front-facing speakers. We thought they might be missing when we first got a glimpse at this thing, but we're really happy to see they are indeed on here, just little slivers underneath the screen. Putting that to one side, and we can take a look at the HTC Desire 820. With its 5.5-inch display, it is larger like we said, but it does lack some of that sharpness. Both of these are SLCD panels. Front-facing 8 megapixel cameras, so no slouch by any means, and front-facing stereo speakers as well. Right hand side, volume rocker, power button, no physical camera button. Down at the base you have a micro USB connector. Left hand side, no buttons, but underneath the slot you do have, if we open it up, micro SD card slot for expandability and 2 SIM slots, because this is a dual SIM device. Up at the top is a 3.5mm headphone jack. On the flip side, rear-facing 13 megapixel camera and flash NFC on both of these devices. So ultimately, like we said, they are very similar and they are very different. You can get them both in a range of colors, blue and this kind of corally color as well, and the 820 is available in a couple of others too. They do look really good when you talk about the screens. The SLCD displays from HTC have always excelled. They are calibrated quite differently. The HTC Desire 820 feels a little bit cooler by contrast to what feels like a slightly warmer Desire EYE. But ultimately you can also calibrate that through software you download through the Google Play Store. The Desire EYE also feels a little bit brighter. As for what's inside, it's Android 4.4 with HTC's Sense 6.0, which is that user experience, and they are going to perform virtually identically. You can pinch out for an overview of your home screens where you can control your widgets. You can also access your applications tray, which is vertically scrolling. You can swap out your grid size for a 3x4 grid size if you want to have everything a little bit more spread out. 1 finger pull down and 2 finger pull down to activate your quick toggles. Like it's going to be exactly the same on the HTC Desire EYE, so there's no point repeating it. But yeah, ultimately we really like HTC Sense. It's optimized beautifully for devices, and as long as you keep it nice and tidy, it shouldn't be too slow at all, even 6 odd months down the line. As far as multimedia goes, they'll also perform very, very similarly. You've got the same camera sensor, what seems like the same camera sensor on both of these devices around the back. That's 13 megapixels. The dual flash on the HTC Desire EYE is going to perform more accurate in terms of colors, but the actual performance when you aren't working with flashes will be very, very similar. One thing that we will say is we noticed the Desire EYE was quicker to take a shot than the Desire 820. So that might have something to do with the 801 processor being more powerful than the 64-bit octa-core Snapdragon 615. In spite of all those things, it is still an inferior processor when it comes to pure performance. How do we know? Well, we benchmarked the two for starters. You can see the HTC Desire EYE scored 41,000 by contrast to around 31 or 32,000 on the HTC Desire 820. Performance in terms of video as well will be identical. You can record up to full HD on both devices. What's nice about the Desire EYE obviously is the fact you've got all those capabilities that you have with a front-facing camera with a rear-facing camera on the front-facing camera. So that's full HD front-facing video too. In addition, you have some very, very different internals. Like we said, you've got 2 different processors at the heart of them. 64-bit octa-core Snapdragon 615. You have 4 1.5 gigabyte cores. You have 4 1 gigabyte cores. And this is by contrast to the Snapdragon 801 clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. Both have 2 gig of RAM, 16 gig of internal memory, as well as expandability by micro SD card. Like we said, this is the waterproof one, this isn't. And as far as batteries go, this has the Desire EYE has a 24,000 milliamp battery, which will last around a day. HTC's gotten better since the M8 first came out, which has a larger capacity battery of optimizing battery usage. If you're a power user, you will go through this way quicker than a day, but generally speaking, we were quite impressed. We didn't anticipate that it would last as long as it ended up lasting in regular daily use. If you do cane that front-facing camera though, it'll be out of juice by about 4 p.m. As for the HTC Desire 820, this is a 2600 milliamp battery, just like the HTC One M8. Ultimately, therefore, 2 really good mid-range or high mid-range phones. If you do want that bigger screen for movies, for example, want maybe a cheaper offering that has a more fun feel in the hand, don't really care too much about having a front-facing flash, but still want an 8 megapixel front-facing camera, the HTC Desire 820 could be for you. Also, remember, it has those dual SIM slots, so that could swing it in its favor. If you'd rather have a water-resistant phone, can stump up that extra 100 quid and fancy reading a lot of text on your phone, the screen of this thing will be stupendous. Also, obviously, it is the more premium of the two in terms of pure performance with its Snapdragon 801 processor, so will likely be better for gaming, although with the low impact a 720p screen places on that 615 processor, we reckon this won't be any slouch in the gaming department either. So hopefully you've enjoyed our comparison between the HTC Desire 820 and the HTC Desire EYE. If you have, make sure you click that like button. If you like the video, then you want to subscribe for more of the same. We'll be posting loads more comparisons over the coming week and in the run up to Christmas. If you can think of any comparisons or devices you want to see more of, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.